we welcome you, everyone here online in Zoom and in our room. And today we have a screening of the documentary film Crime Riva and then the panel discussion afterwards. And first, we would like to introduce organizers. First, it's Ukrainian Association of Students and Academics in Zurich. My name is Ksenia, and I'm the representative of this association. I'm the event manager. So very briefly, what we are doing, we're trying to facilitate connection between Ukrainians and everyone else who is interested in Ukraine. And we organize some Ukraine-related activities, and we promote in Ukraine. You can see some photos from our events, like annual picnics, lectures, film recordings, film screenings, very diverse tours. And the most important for us in this month that we collecting presents for children in Ukraine who need it. For those children who were first to move because of the Russian invasion or who just lives very close to the front line. And that will be conducted during the 2 days, the November 14th and November 29th. We welcome you to bring any presents. More details you can find on our website. And to encourage you to bring it. This is photo from the last year when we organized the same initiative. We collected humanitarian aid and the same presents, and we received many photos from children who were very happy to receive those presents. Yeah, so more information you can find on our website. The QR code is on this slide. You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook. Also, you can find some materials on the first desk in this room about our organization. And the second organizer of this event is World Ukrainian Cooperation Society. We have two co-founders here, Victoria Viktorova. Yeah, you can find it. Yes, and Maria. Yes, and Marianna Koch-Zorova. Yeah. So this is the organization which is deeply involved in many cultural events. They organize some concerts in Zurich of Ukrainian artists and Ukrainian Fashion Day and many others you can see on this slide. So yeah, and this is some contact and Instagram profile if you want. Yes, and now we move in further with our event. And very briefly, our agenda. So first, we have the film screening. Before the film screening, you will hear the speech from Marianna Yeleiko from the Bohdan Hawrylyshyn Family Foundation. Then Olesya Morhunets-Isaenko, the film director of Crime Riva, will introduce the film itself. We'll talk about the story of this film. And then we have the screening. After that, we have 10-15 minutes break. And after the break, we have panel discussion with our guest speakers, with Alina Piddubna from the Ukrainian IT company Intellials, with Liz Olegova, who is founder of Alex 21 for Ukraine, and Richard von Groeling, co-founder of Alex 21 for Ukraine. Then Olga Denishik, ecology scientist, and Olesya Morhunets-Isaenko, the film director. The moderator for this discussion will be Olena Melnyk, probably many of you know her, honorary professor at the Royal Agricultural University, England. Yes, and now I will give the word to the Marianna Yeleiko, the director of Bohdan Hawrylyshyn Family Foundation, who is joined online via Zoom.
Happy to see you, and I will switch to another slide as you already see me. My name is Marianna, and I'm the director of the Bohdan Hawrylyshyn Family Foundation. And this is the organization that was founded by the family of Ukrainian visionary, prominent economist Bohdan Hawrylyshyn, and our mission is to empower change makers to build value-based Ukraine and also to promote the culture of responsibilities in Ukraine. And this year we started the campaign abroad, so I will share that information too. Um, and I'm very happy to be here today. Just few weeks ago, I think 3 weeks ago, I was sitting as you are right now in this room, and I was watching the movie Поводир, and crying. So I'm very thankful for the organizers for sharing so important topics and creating so important events for Ukraine and for our communication together. Um, yes. And today I'd like to introduce the Declaration of Human Responsibilities that was created by Bohdan Hawrylyshyn, a visionary economist from Ukraine who made his mark here in Switzerland, as well as in many other countries in the world. He spent his life studying that makes society successful, and he worked with many governments worldwide promoting ideas that were ahead of his time. In 80s, long before sustainable development was a mainstream concept, he was already highlighting the importance of balancing economic growth with environmental responsibility and also social well-being in his paper To the Club of Rome. And on the screen you may see the book, the red one. This is that paper that I mentioned. What makes his declaration unique and powerful, and this approach, it doesn't treat issues like the environment as separate or secondary. Instead, it integrates them, showing that our responsibilities to the environment are deeply connected to our responsibilities to each other and ourselves. The declaration emphasizes that we are all part of a larger ecosystem, and every action we take affects this system, from the health of our families to the well-being of the planet. Bohdan Hawrylyshyn believed that human responsibility should cover all parts of life, caring for ourselves, preserving culture, supporting future generations, and protecting the environment. He saw ecology as a crucial part of healthy society, not just something that to consider when it's convenient. This holistic approach connects sustainability, culture, human well-being as a foundation for true for success. And I would like to show you, and I know that you have there our postcards and our illustrations that were created by a Ukrainian artist from Club Pictoric. This is a club of Ukrainian illustrators who created the posters that points all 15 principles of human responsibility that are marked in the Declaration of Human Responsibility. The one you see right now on the screen is the 12th principle to protect the environment. You may take them, they are in the format of postcards, and there is also a QR code where you can read more deeply information that is on our website about the declaration. And in Ukraine, we have the Human Responsibility Day, and through October and November, in the period of the Human Responsibility Day, it's 19th of October, there were a series of cultural events, and also in Zurich, where we presented our initiative that we started this year. This is a global call for Human Responsibility Day. We are sure that the question of human responsibilities should raise in all countries, and we call you to follow us, to support the initiative. I shared the so on the screen you may see the QR code, and we would like to raise this question of having human responsibility days in all countries all of the world. So please support this initiative, and I am still open to share screening and happy to interact with you. It's a little bit hard to communicate when I don't see other people, so it's a little bit challenging. But I hope that you may look at the postcards and then maybe to communicate later. But I know that right now there will be a film screening, so thank you very much.
Так, мене чутно? Так? Так, окей,
Є,
бачу, що
так,
чуєте. Так,
дякую,
тут люди вам
чути.
аплодували. Думаю, що люди можуть ще раз зробити оплески.
Не чути, але я відчуваю серцем.
Добре, добре. Ну так, люди вас підтримують і аплодують вам. Thank you for your introduction. Thank you for your introduction of the fund, of the foundation.
Yes, I will be very short. We invite film director Olesya Morhunets-Isaenko. Yeah, so stage is yours.
Hi, but I need a translator, okay? Because my English is difficult. Та мені зручно тримати.
Ще раз.
This photo is this auditoria.
Так, можемо починати.
Я дуже рада вам представити мій фільм, тому що це кіно, це найулюбленіша моя робота, яку я зробила в своєму житті.
I'm extremely grateful to present you this movie. It is the best work in my life.
Тому що для того, щоб зробити це кіно, мені прийшлося зняти 4 фільми.
Because to record this particular movie, I had to produce 4 movies. Yes, 4 movies.
Тому що екологія мало кого цікавить, і мені треба було зробити собі ім'я для того, щоб отримати фінансування і зняти кіно на екологічну тему.
Because apparently environmental studies, ecology is not so interesting, and to get some money, to get some funds to produce this movie, Olesya had to, let's say, build a profile, build a resume.
Але це кіно про моє серце, про мою річку і про річки України. І цей фільм тепер уже не тільки про екологію, а Україну, яка була до повномасштабного вторгнення.
But this movie is my heart, about my river, about all the rivers in Ukraine. But now it's not only about rivers, it's about Ukraine, about Ukrainian environment before the full-scale invasion.
Тому що ви побачите в цьому фільмі території, які наразі окуповані Російською Федерацією, і є території, які були зруйновані, мости, греблі. Тут буде водосховище на Сиверському Донці, яке було теж зруйноване.
You're gonna see some footage from areas that is occupied now, some places that are destroyed now, like bridges or some dams. You're gonna see also Siversky Donets water reservoir that is also destroyed now.
І також тут буде Молочний Лиман, мій чоловік із Запоріжжя, і це теж моя улюблена область, Запорізька. і де перельотні птахи з Африки зупинялися, і це було неймовірно, коли ми приїжджали туди і це знімали. Ви теж це зможете побачити в цьому фільмі. Тому я надіюся, що кіно вас надихне і покаже вам ту красу України, яку бачила я, і яка досі, на щастя, є завдяки нашим хлопцям, дівчатам, які захищають Україну.
You're also gonna see Molochny Liman. It is a settlement in Zaporizhia region where Olesya's husband's from. It is also a wonderful, beautiful place area where you can see where you previously had some chance to see birds migrating through this area. But still, there are some places, beautiful places, that are still protected and preserved due to Ukrainian armed forces.
І я всіх запрошую до перегляду. Говорити це одне, а дивитись це те, що є важливим.
Yeah, let's watch first, and then we're gonna talk.
Hello, everyone again. Thank you for all of us for still staying with us. We move to our second part of this evening. We will have a panel discussion about the problem which was discussed in the film. I guess many of you would agree with me that was quite impressive, in not the best meaning of it. We start our panel discussion with the introduction of our panelists. And first is Alina Piddubna.
Thank you. I hope you hear me well. First of all, I appreciate for inviting me here. And I would like, first of all, to express my admiration to the author of the film and the editor of the film, because it has been very impressive for me. It has been impressive not just because the work is great and this is the artwork, despite that this is a documentary, but because of my activity, which I do in Inteles. And I'm here because I heard in the film a lot of critics about the agrarians. But actually what I do in my work, not just the sustainability projects, but also the agri-tech projects. And my message is not like to dispute what has been said and demonstrated in the film, but it is more about the approach, how we treat the agronomy questions. Because from one side, yes, we do have the problem with the water and we need to clean it. We need to conserve the rivers. From the other side, the population which is growing and we need to feed them. So it's not a matter about fighting what is important, a river or improving, let's say, increasing the amount of Arab land. It's about looking in a more systematic way on how we grow food, how we approach the land and process it, and following the rules. So I'm more a technology person rather than let's say agronomist. So I do know something about agriculture, but my focus is about the data and the data which we use for agri-tech and how technology helps to make agriculture better, but not only agriculture, but also the sustainability projects are in my area. And I would like to share with you some updates about how I see we can help. I mean, when I say we, the technology, the modern technology, in restoring the river ecosystem in Ukraine, and especially now or in the post-war period. I work in Inteles. Inteles is a company with Ukrainian roots. It's a global IT software engineering company. We are present in more than 12 countries, but we are proud to be a Ukrainian company, and the majority of our employees are located in Ukraine. On the other side, we are delivering globally the projects including agriculture and sustainability matters. And this is what makes me proud, because I'm not just delivering the business value. I'm delivering the social, ecological value when we speak about, for example, regenerative agriculture, which are part of my portfolio. Automating and automating the processes using artificial intelligence and more efficient data collection to reduce the quantity of fertilizer supplied. And because of that, we can reduce the amount of pesticides which get into the river and finally get into our glasses of water. So at Intellias, I would not, I would say I can speak a lot about my company, but I would just say that we are engineers. From the bottom of our hearts, first of all, we are resolving technical problems, making them look simpler for our clients. Second, we are partnering with our clients. It means that we focus on the outcomes and the value we bring, not just the formal delivery. And we have done it already, managed to do across the world. And of course, Intellias is recognized as one of the best employers, not just in Ukraine, but also in Europe. And with our domain expertise, with our engineering capabilities, and being recognized as the leader in Europe, for example, for project management practices, we are proud to deliver sustainability projects as well. Regarding the global impact, for example, when you're driving a car, maybe you will think about Intellias, because more than 100 million cars in the world have the software embedded in and made by Intellias. We also have the project, ecology projects related with the control of insects, which are currently used across the globe, and a set of other prominent projects. But I'm today for another reason. The second reason why I'm happy to be here is this is the university, and my family, they are university people. My sister is a professor at the university. My father, for more than 40 years, has been a professor and the dean of the Faculty of International Economics in Ukrainian University. And for me, it's kind of like getting back to the family, and I appreciate that. Intellias collaborates with universities as well, the Lviv National University and the Catholic universities. We are building labs. We are building labs, for example, for technical students, for embedded technology, what can be done, for example, what every time you have the software in the car, in the machine, in the agri-tech machinery, etc., this is embedded. So we are collaborating with students, and of course, we are inviting students to join Intellias for junior programs. So we are open to the young, talented people who are about a technique. And what's interesting is that whatever the profession you are, the solutions currently in the modern world, they lie primarily in the intersection of nature and technology. That's why, even though you are in some, you feel non-technical field, in reality, we value people who have the deep domain experience. So as I mentioned already, Intellias is recognized for being the best in the top of the best employers in Ukraine, and not only in Ukraine. Such labels as a good place to work or best place to work in Portugal, in Poland, in India, in Spain. We are proud of that. And one of the directions, of course, we have our own ecological initiatives inside, and we have technology initiatives. So getting into the details, what we can do. We have a technology office, which is the heart of our innovation. That's where we build the different prototypes, accelerators, and make some solutions where we experiment what could help resolve the problem. And now getting into the details about what the technology can do for cleaning the rivers and restoring river ecosystems in Ukraine, and especially in the post-war period. I've collected for you a couple of cases. Some of them maybe look fantastical for you, maybe irrelevant, maybe you will say we don't have money. But I would like to remind you that Ukraine is one of the most digitalized countries in the world for the government services. And I believe that if we have done it for the government services, this is possible also to go wider and, for example, to have a look at the water quality matters. So what can we do? One of the scenarios is, of course, it all starts from the data collection. As I mentioned, my work as a portfolio manager for agri-tech, this is about primarily data solutions. Because, for example, if you want to have artificial intelligence, you want to use even Gen AI, whatever, you need good data. So technology can help with the power of Internet of Things. This is the modern technology, for example, the set of sensors which can be put in the banks of the river, in the water, for example, in the bottom of the river, to detect what's going on with the water. But I know, for example, Olesya may be smiling and saying, hey, Alina, we already know that it's bad. Yeah, so we don't need to know. But in reality, observing this in real time and dynamics to prove, for example, the business case when you need to get a grant and to prove that this money is really funded efficiently and it brings value, because I'm dealing a lot with some clients who are in the nonprofit sector, and all the companies who are funding them, they want to see the outcomes. And that's where modern technology can come and help, because with the time you set the baseline, so at the beginning of the project, you put the sensors and they deliver data, maybe in the instant mode, so in the online mode, you can see the difference, or maybe in some batches of time, you can demonstrate the improvement. This is, I believe, could be one of the prerequisites for getting the funds, for helping the problem with the rivers. So the sensors, they can be absolutely different. They can detect the water quality, for example, measure this is the dissolved oxygen. This is tracking, for example, if we speak about the water conditions, these can be tracking of some heavy metals, for example, like mercury or lead. They can be collected, identified, and maybe pinpoint in the areas where it is a problem for humans to get there because it's dangerous, or maybe because it's like so far and so remote, it might be a problem. So the modern world of IoT technology is so rich now. You can have multi-parameter sensors. So these are small things, maybe bigger things, and they are wireless. They are allowing for a long lifetime because of the good batteries. So it's an ecosystem, and there are already specific, let's say, collections of systems. We call them digital twins, and I will speak about them next one. So first, you collect the data. Second, what modern technology can propose to us, this is building a virtual replica of the river ecosystem and use this data to model of what can be the future scenarios. What if we take away, what if we do like that, this one? So scenario analysis. What if, for example, we reduce the amount of, for example, of lead and etc. with this way? What will be the impact in the short-term period, in the longer-term period, and etc. Again, you can build a business case, you can monitor the situation. So before making a decision, the digital twin solution can help justify some investment. It can help justify already also scientifically some risky behavior. And actually, this is already implemented in many other industries. So why not try this in the sustainability sector? The third one are, of course, the drones and robotics. And we've seen a lot of brilliant work in the film. So the drones are the ones which can help detect the areas where we have the most problems, the heaviest, for example, pollution coming from the remnants of the military technique, for example, or some chemical problems in the water which can cause damage. So drones are the sources of data, same as the IoT technology, same as the sensors. And this is already widely used to detect the areas across the rivers. And the very good examples are in Kenya, in the United States. I found these cases not related to post-war conditions, but I know that there are already several experiments being done for Syria. And I think this experience could be at least investigated in more detail. Robotic cleaners, of course. Robotic cleaners, they are expensive. They are looking funny sometimes, but what's important is that they must be autonomous, because if you want to clean the river from some remnants of the, let's say, explosives, we shouldn't let people get there. We do already have this equipment for cleaning the land, demining the land on the eastern part of Ukraine, the released part. As an expert, I cannot say and confirm that we do have such solutions already for the water. I believe we do. I think we do, because looking at what current robotics can do, we already have solutions. When I say we, I mean we are humanity, which are strong enough to be resistant from shock if they face an explosion. So this is a matter about careful and deliberate selection of the equipment which is necessary, but it does already exist. And last but not least, what can be done? This is the AI and machine learning, which can help us simulate together using the digital twin technology. First of all, this is about detecting and forecasting using the specific algorithms. They can make forecasts about what will happen next. For example, you want to simulate some scenario, and machine learning based on historical data, normally powered by good qualitative historical data, it can give you a scenario, and then again, you can prioritize where we should go next and what is the hottest topic. For example, you come with the problem in this area. Looking at the film, I understand there are so many problems we need to deal with. And we have so many problems. When we have so many problems, it's a matter of prioritization, because you can't do it all. And machine learning can help with that, because now it looks like not a big disaster. So when you're comparing different scenarios in financial mathematics, there is such a rule. You should never compare the values of the projects which have different duration. You need to have some, it's normally called net present value, discounting, and etc. But here, when we speak about the non-financial impacts and values, I think AI and machine learning, so they can help us make these predictions better. So something very small today in the simulation of 5-year time can bring them maybe more damage than something which seems big today. Maybe it smells bad. Well, I'm sorry, yes, this is not comfortable. But in terms of ecological impact, this can be different. So we need to compare that maybe in a more systematic way. And of course, smart alerts. So if you have a sensor, or you have a drone which has collected information, and you have some basic algorithm configured, an expert assigned to monitor the situation with the river can observe and be notified in case of, for example, some critical sudden growth of, for example, lead or mercury in the water. This could give a hint that some action might be necessary. So again, modern technology can do like that. And finally, I would like to give you a small simulation of what can be done. And actually, that's what Intellias does. We help our clients and non-for-profits as well develop roadmaps for creating some sustainability solutions by embedding and combining different technology like IoT, digital twins, AI, machine learning. So please take a look how this can look like. So this is a system where we have embedded, this is a simulation that in the Dnipro River, we have put in the distance of approximately 15 kilometers, 5 sensors, sorry. And it was specifically located, it's recommended in the strategic area, so you see not far from the population of the city. This system will, that's exactly the system of alerting and monitoring in real life. I mean, in online mode, so with little delay. And there are two types of sensors. Ones are on the bank, and the others are inside the river, as you see the location. So there are 3 in the river itself in the water, and there are 2 in the bank. You can configure these sensors. For example, how often you want to see the alerts, the notifications. If you want to configure, for example, the status of let's say the indicator. So you need to calibrate the system to the state that it provides the qualitative data. And this system, I'm now waiting when it gets to the video. Yeah. So different configurations and parameters can be added here. The most important is that you have the hardware part. It is in the physical environment, and here you see already the data appearing in the configured frequency in the virtual environment. The sensors, they are operating using the batteries. So this is remote technology called edge technology. And for example, if necessary, you can use the QR code to get directly into the sensor, maybe to configure, to restart it if there is a problem, and etc. So these sensors can be multi-parametric sensors and collecting different information depending on the provider. Or this can be one single, for example, pH sensors or dissolved oxygen sensor for the water. And then you can monitor the different graphs. Alerts can be configured, as I already mentioned. And these can be scaled in. For example, now you will see on the screen that we will increase it, as far as I remember, 2 minutes. And you will see some weird behavior. Why this was happening? Because sometimes you need to restart a sensor because it can be covered with water. I don't know, maybe some fish wanted to eat it, but it survived, and etc. So anything can happen inside the water. And this helps monitor it. So this is the first step. If you speak about restoring the river ecosystems, there can be mechanical cleaning, of course. There can be some scientific approaches in using the cleaning technology, using, ecological chemistry. But technology can significantly help. And I think this is the way where, with the help of technology, we can do it, I would say, more ecologically friendly. Because like in agritech, in precision agriculture, what's the purpose of precision agriculture? To apply the pesticides and the quantity of fertilizers in such a minimum amount in the necessary pieces of land so that less chemicals are applied. This is economically more efficient. This is more ecological behavior. And yeah, that makes me feel good. I'm doing something useful for humanity. So thank you very much. That's it. And I'll be happy to answer your questions, I believe, during the panel.
I think we will move some Q&A session a bit further. Thank you, Alina. Yes, and now I would like, thank you again. Yes. And now I would like to invite our next speakers, Liz and Richard, who will present us their project EDX21 for Ukraine. Thank you.
Great. Well, hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here in Zurich. My name is Liz Yeleiko. I'm the founder of EDX21 for Ukraine.
My name is Richard von Gröling, and I'm Liz's co-founder.
So a little bit about EDX21 and who exactly we are. I myself am a Lithuanian citizen with a grandmother who comes from Kharkiv. And in March of 2022, in the beginning of the war, Richard and I, well, rather, I decided like a mad woman to go to Ukraine to evacuate my grandmother, and Richard decided to help me by driving the car. So when we first got to Ukraine, we were both sick with COVID. And as there's a war going on, you're not exactly just going to sit there and do nothing. So we got on WhatsApp, we got into Telegram group chats, and within 3 weeks, we found ourselves being in the center of an entire logistics network. We ended up having warehouses, we had convoys that were coming, giving us aid. And eventually, towards the beginning of April, we decided that we need to start actually shuttling this aid to the places that really need it, ergo the front line. Over the last 2 years, our organization has really moved into a completely frontline logistics company. We do not work with any kind of middlemen or distribution centers. We deliver all of the aid by hand ourselves to areas including Kharkiv, Donetsk, Zaporozhye, Dnipro, Kherson, Mykolaiv, and Sumy. These are a couple of pictures. As you can see, they're a little bit bad quality, but we've essentially been living for the last 3 years in Ukraine. And I personally spent the last...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I actually considered Liz to be kind of crazy, and I'm always the one who's hitting the brakes and saying, look, Liz, we cannot go there. And she's like, yes, we totally have to. So I basically follow her wherever she goes because she needs someone to drive her.
Exactly. And the last 5 months I spent living in Kramatorsk, getting very well acquainted with the water problem that is there. Also accidentally bathing in the river, which I thought was a lake in my defense, did not end very well for me. And naturally bathing and drinking the water, just like the local residents that don't really have a choice. So how exactly did we get started with water? As our organization was growing, in the beginning, we were delivering aid just like everybody else, going to different gramadas, different regions, deoccupied territories, and asking them what they need, matching them to donors, finding the stuff, and bringing it. Now, in June of 2022, we made our first trip to Mykolaiv. As all of you probably know, at that time, Kherson was fully occupied, and there was no water. Yeah.
Technical issues I need to share slides. Share them. Okay. Now, kind of have it. Yep.
We're back?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Right. So in June of 2022, Richard and I and our team went to Nikolaev, where we saw, these are our own original pictures, people queuing for water.
Yeah.
And us.
And there were hundreds of people queuing behind one water truck. And on the first day, we found two of these trucks in the city boundaries of Mykolaiv. And the instinctive reaction to that was that this cannot be a solution for a water crisis or a water supply problem. So we did a lot of thinking.
Also worth noting that at this time we were showering in the water, and naturally, because we're distributing aid, we had a bunch of cuts on our hands, and the water burned. It actually physically burned when you were showering in it. And that's when Richard, this time, was the crazy madman who said, Liz, we need to find a solution. And I distinctively remember looking at this guy and saying, are you freaking out of your mind? How are we supposed to solve the clean drinking water crisis? I mean, this is happening all over Ukraine. And Richard absolutely insisted, we need to figure something out, anything. So we started brainstorming, and we came to the conclusion, or rather we found this device, this machinery that is called reverse osmosis filtration systems. But there was a problem. Not only are they very, very expensive, but the installation of them is very complicated, right? So the way that they usually are installed is they get installed into the walls with all of these complicated tubes. They cost a lot of money. You have to import them. I think Switzerland was one of the countries where we found these systems.
Yes, and you also need an entire engineering stuff to actually set the system up. And once it is installed, it stays wherever it is.
Exactly, which isn't really what we were looking for. So the fire department in Mykolaiv, after we were racking our brains for a couple of weeks, we ended up reaching out to them and we said, guys, I mean, you're firefighters, you deal with water, maybe you know something. And that leads us to the discovery of a company called Wise Water. Wise Water is a Ukrainian-based producer operating out of Kiev, where they produce these modular reverse osmosis filtration systems. And in July, at the end of July, we delivered the first two very successfully and installed them directly in the precinct.
And the real advantage of these systems, as you might have seen, they are built very compact in a cage, in a metal cage, and 3 people can easily lift it onto a van. And the installation is basically plug and play. So you have the incoming water, it gets filtered, and then you have the outcome, and you press a button, and you have drinking water.
Those were the first systems that we installed. And then between January and May of 2023, we started touring the entire front line, everything from Sumy, Kharkiv, Donetsk Oblast. We went everywhere where nobody wanted to go. And throughout this travels, we obviously started speaking to the local administrations and asking them, what do you guys need? And no matter where we went, the answer was always the same. We need clean drinking water. And the only solutions that people were finding were to bring bottles or these water trucks, as you saw in the previous picture. And to us, that was absolutely crazy, because when we asked the local residents, well, how often do these trucks come? They said, we don't know. They just show up. We don't really know when. We don't really know how long they're going to stay. And we just basically wait for them and hope that we don't miss them.
Yeah, they have an Ulichna that is like watching the street. And if the truck comes in, she has a group chat and she notifies everyone the truck is coming. And then they gather and try to find the location of the truck, and then they will supply themselves with water.
So as we're touring all of these areas, we start to really think to ourselves, you know what? We need to start really focusing on clean drinking water, especially after the Kakhovka Dam, which is pictured here. Richard and I, we toured most of Kherson Oblast for a month with a blow-up boat going across fields and coming to people who kept telling us the same thing. We're flooded, and ironically, we have nothing to drink. And every single well that you find across all of these areas have this very beautiful sign saying, not for drinking. But of course, people drink that water because what else are they supposed to do? There's simply no other solution. So as we are touring these areas and we're speaking to every single gramada, we're starting to really notice the scale of this problem. And again, we're living in this water ourselves. I mean, Richard and I were recently discussing the quality of our hair and our skin and how much it has really deteriorated over the last 3 years of living in Ukraine. And as we got to Zurich, my hair got its curls back. For the first time in 3 years, my hair is finally starting to curl. And the only explanation is it's the water. I haven't changed my shampoo. So naturally, we start to think about what can we do. Now, the water problem, I think the video that we watched today, it's already pretty clear why the water is bad. There's also the added destruction, of course, of the Kakhovka Dam, of the Donetsk water pipeline, the Kharkiv oil spill that happened. So adding in all of the bombings that are happening, we're basically coming out to about 6 million people that don't have access to clean drinking water.
That is just in the front lines. I mean, as far as we know, there's a United Nations report stating that at least 16 million people in Ukraine do not have access to any form of clean drinking water. So that also increased through the internally displaced people. So the numbers are not like, we can't really verify. It's put together from information that we got over times. So the number of people in the immediate front lines varies between 5 and 6 million people who need clean drinking water.
That's where the video was. So we started to approach this problem, as mentioned, from the reverse side, right? We're bathing in this water, we're drinking this water, and we're telling ourselves, okay, well, we've got these amazing systems. So in the beginning of this year, of 2024, I went to Brussels, where I confronted the Minister of Infrastructure, asking him a very public question in front of live television: what are you doing to solve this crisis? And you know what he replied? He said, in 5 to 10 years, we're willing to start looking at this problem, but right now we have other priorities. Other priorities than millions of people drinking literal poison, and as the video, the movie we watched showed, getting serious health problems. I mean, even we are experiencing them. So the wise water solution that we found, again, these reverse osmosis filtration systems, you see them a little bit better here. They're modular, they're easy to transport, they cost 20,000 per system. You can move them if shelling increases. And what we're basically seeking to do is to put these systems across the entire front line. Our goal is to do 1,200 systems into 6 oblasts. These systems, by the way, filter 1,000 liters of clean drinking water per hour. And the way that we decided to set them up is to connect them to wells, because wells are independent of the water source. And as the Ukrainians in the room know, there's no electricity, there's no water, which is not, we don't want to cause more problems, right? We want to offer a solution that is going to be sustainable and that is independent of what is currently going on artillery-wise in the surrounding.
Yes, and also, of course, we are aware of the problem that all-time access to these filtration systems must be guaranteed. So one of the solutions we have for that is that we actually stay in ownership of the systems and we lease them out. And by that, we have total control of opening hours, operating hours, and also of where they're stationed and if they're in use or not. We had situations where a system was delivered, it was about to be installed, and then someone decided not to set it up and put it in some storage room. And when we heard about that, we just got there, we picked it up again and just brought it to Kherson instead. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we are very particular about the ownership of these systems.
Yeah, this is just a quick picture to show the team of Wise Water. And I mean, these guys are literal geniuses. They are absolute water nerds, which is amazing. I mean, they are so passionate about what they do. They're kind of madmen, I would even say. And there was
everything is just water.
Everything is water.
Water. They think water. They speak water. Yeah, I mean, they're made of water. So, but yeah, everything is only about water to these guys.
So as mentioned, I mean, we are a charitable organization, right? So that's what pretty much brought us to Zurich. We were fortunate enough to meet an amazing consulting company, 89 Global, when we were in Brussels. And these guys are currently helping us to get grant money in order to place these systems across all of Ukraine. But we're here presenting this idea, this concept to you today because there's a lot of different ways that you can help support this project. Maybe you know people that might want to donate to a location. Maybe you have a technology that would be able to live analyze the water, right? So it's a very grassroots project, but we are absolutely certain that if we can pull this off, and it's not that much, mind you, 1,200 systems is only 20 million. Only. That's the word that they told me in Brussels when I asked them, is this in your ideas feasible? And they said, absolutely.
Yeah, and the idea of supplying 6 million people with clean drinking water, of course, also comes from our deepest feeling that access to clean drinking water is the most basic human right that you can imagine, because this is the source of all life on this planet. And we should absolutely try to provide this to everyone who needs it.
Exactly. So that kind of leads us into where we are today and what are the next steps of this project that we have just launched. So in Zurich, we met a company called Enfold, who is currently attempting to help us sponsor the pilot in Druskivka.
Actually, we met them not in Zurich. But
That's a good point. That's a good point. We met them through a waiter in Kharkiv who promoted us to Yasmin, who is an employee of Enfold, who told her bosses about us, and they brought us to Zurich, where we were very fortunate to meet quite some interested people. Now, why did we select Druskivka as a pilot? Well, the idea is if we can place 25 systems in one gromada, for example, Druskivka, where the water is absolute crap, we can prove to the European Commission, to the International Monetary Fund, to any basically large organization or committee that this concept works. By placing 25 systems in the gromada of Druskivka, we will actually solve the clean drinking water problem. People across the whole area will have access for free, unlimited 24/7.
That is, of course, we're not, after we've seen the brilliant movie, we will not solve the problem with the pollution of the water itself, of course. As Liz mentioned, we take it from the other side. We try to clean the water at the side where the people are concerned and where drinking is concerned.
Exactly. And this is just a bit of like a scope of what exactly we're looking at. Honestly, I'm going to be real with you guys. I just selected the number 1,000, but the goal is a lot wider. I mean, currently we want to do this project, we want to implement it at the front line, but the really cool thing is when I was in Brussels for the water conference, I asked the European Commission, do you see reverse osmosis filtration systems as being a sustainable long-term solution? And the answer was yes.
And not to forget, by placing thousands of these, well, let's say 1,000, 1,300 of these systems, one of the ideas behind it, of course, is we want to decentralize water supply. As we decentralize it, we make it more unlikely for one facility being hit by a missile attack. And if that facility gets hit, an entire region will be out of water supply. So the idea why we take small systems and place them in many locations is even if one system gets hit, the population will still be supplied with drinking water.
Not to mention, you also don't have too many people gathering in one location, which is, of course, very important.
Every crowd is a target. Never forget that.
Yeah. This is just a bit of a unit cost breakdown in case anybody is curious. So the system itself costs 12,500 to produce. And then the other fees are the installation and the logistics costs. So yes, I understand that for some people looking at this, they might say, well, that sounds a bit high. But when we're talking about installing 1,200 systems, we're currently a three-man team. Our other co-founder, Anastasia Shagalina, is currently in Brussels, so she was not able to join us. But we want to scale this, and we know that we can achieve it, right? We know that this is feasible because we've already done it. So this is why we are seeking out the kind of funding that we are, and this was what brought us to this unit breakdown.
Also, we have a video that we would like to share.
Yes.
Of course, it's a very short video, so...
Exactly. Yeah, the video will give you maybe a bit more of an idea of how exactly the system works.
Well, it's a short edit about the work we do and how we do it. Yeah. Yeah, as you can see, I'm changing my hairstyle a lot. Yeah, so of course it's no comparison to the movie we've seen earlier this evening, but I think it gives a good insight in how we work and what we want to achieve.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to get involved, if anyone, I don't know, in any way, shape, or form, I mean, this project is really just in the beginning phases, so feel free to find me or Richard, and we're happy to support in any way and receive support in any way.
And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much for your crazy story, for sharing it with us, and for what are you doing, for your help and support. Thanks a lot. Thanks again. Yes. And the last presentation for today, I would like to invite Honorary Professor at the Royal Agricultural University, England, Olena Melnyk.
Sorry.
Yeah, it is better now. It's very sensitive for me because really, as ecologist, with my background, so I understand the meaning, what's going on now, and we see that it's not only local problem; it's problem that cover all the territory of Ukraine, and there is no one solution that we can offer and we can apply somewhere in one place, another place. Each territory requires its own solutions that should be somehow delivered and should be somehow developed together with scientists, with business, with government, and we all have to unite our efforts. And my field of research, it's not water. My field of research, mostly I am dealing now with soil pollution, but psychologist, whenever I'm invited, whenever I'm asked to tell to people about environmental problems, I'm trying to do that. And it doesn't matter even that rivers not or oceans or water basin is not something that I'm exactly dealing with, but I try to deliver this information for people to because now mostly people talk about humanitarian problems, about human losses, but as ecologist, I understand that human losses is something that already been engraved in our hearts, already been engraved in our brains, and it's something that will bring a lot of sad, tragic stories in our future, but at the same time, I understand that the environmental problems and such that will bring a lot of environmental problems and a lot of problems with our health for many, many generations ahead. And now we have to understand, we have to estimate, we have to assess the scale of the problem, and we have to develop decision, even when this war is still ongoing, we have to develop these decisions. And yes, I'm dealing with mostly with soil pollution. We talk to farmers, we try to understand what's going on with our soils, we try to help them to remediate the soils, because whatever is going on in our soil, it can end up in our rivers, it can end up in our underground waters. And with our fertile soils, you know that 30% of all black soil in the world, they're located in Ukraine. And with our amazing river network, and with our geographical location and what we got now when the war started. Here you see some pictures that some of them they were sent by my colleagues. And here is a very close location to Sumy region. It's just agricultural field that was bombed, and this crater 7 meters in diameter was left by after Cub bomb turbation, and you can imagine what kind of chemical elements have landed in our soil. And then you see Serebranski Les, where the war active battlefields they take place since the beginning of the war. And when when I talk to foreigners and when they say me, okay, maybe you have a lot of Russian-speaking people in Russia, they invited, because still some people, they think like that, they invited Ukraine to liberate Russian-speaking people. And I say, yeah, okay, probably, and here they liberated our subsoil from the supremacy of topsoil, and here they liberated our forest from leaves, from branches, and there they liberated our rivers from fish. And actually, the pictures happened, maybe this tragedy for our river, same. It happened at the end of August, beginning of September, in Sumy Chernihiv region, when Russia sugar fabrics, they just discharged wastewater into the river, and then it entered territory of Ukraine and caused huge problem, and a lot of fish, approximately it was more than 4,000, they were just killed. And fortunately now water tries to recover itself, but scientists say that it will take 2, 3, 4 years to fully recover biodiversity at that river. And what's going on now in Ukraine, but of course, it's not a first case of ecocide in the world, because now we have, even in our world, we have more than 100 different types of military activities, wars around the world. Even only in Europe, we have about 7 wars, some of them frozen, some of them no. And of course, it's not only a problem of Ukraine, but now scientists say what distinguishes Ukraine from other countries, it's a high intensity of the war, high intensity of warfare. And now scientists say that probably Ukraine, it's not probably, but for sure, Ukraine has become laboratory for analysis and for investigating methodics, how to remediate, how to manage war-affected areas. And it will be now in Ukraine, our scientists, our researchers has fortunately the best experience how to assess, how to investigate, and how to develop strategies for remediation different types of natural resources. And what distinguishes us, as I have said, from the war, for example, in Kuwait and other countries in Syria, it's high intensity of warfare. This picture was done by my friend, who's actually also ecologist, but now he serves for army, and he's a drone operator. And you see what's going on. It's Bakhmut, actually. It's Bakhmut. It's a settlements and agricultural areas, and you see these craters like a wound on the territory of our country. And you see that in the beginning of the war, I have no time to update, because every day the numbers are changing. And you see that more than 10,000 drones have been launched in the territory of Ukraine, more than 7,400 missiles attacks, more than 30 million artillery shots. And now everything landed in our soil. And through soil, it penetrates our subwater, it comes to our rivers, and actually it's something that we drink with drink. So that is why what's going on now in Ukraine, it's our main idea to help to fix what's going on, to assess what's going on. And then we have to develop a plan how to remediate our lands, our soils, how to purificate our rivers, because it's ecocide. And we have to unite our efforts in order to make changes. We're able to make changes, because we can prove that, for example, in Rome Statute, now there are a lot of international discussion how to embed ecocide like a fifth crime in Rome Statute, and we all together can do that. And here you see just some small pictures. It's not a small pictures that about pollution, air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, what's going on now in Ukraine. It's in these pictures just for 2.5 years. And it's only cases that were recorded by our government, but concerned population. And all these numbers, they should be collected together. They should be collected and bring in the future for the international so to pay to force Russia pay for this nature disaster that takes place in Ukraine right now. And to, of course, we will need a lot of money to restore, to revitalize our lands. And it will help us. So for now, as a scientist, I'm trying to attract as many international experts, to bring them to Ukraine, to investigate together what's going on, to assess together. And I work closely with scientists from Cambridge, from many Swiss institutions. We apply together for projects that the main idea of this project is to assess and to, together with international expertise, to prove that what we are doing, it's really something that can be brought in the future to the court. Because what's going on in Ukraine, it's not only Ukrainian problem. It's international, transboundary problem because rivers, they flow whenever they want. And it's the same forest and air, polluted air, it blows, wind it just blows whenever they want. And I always like to remind about this case when the Chernobyl nuclear power station was damaged, and it was a high level of contamination, radioactive contamination that was assessed not even in Ukraine, but in Alps because of transboundary. Our transboundary pollution, it brought this contaminated air mass exactly in Alps, and what's going on right now in Ukraine. Consequences of that will take place in different countries, not only that have a direct borders with Ukraine, but in other as well. And now we have to unite international community to prove these facts, to collect evidence, and to prevent it in the future. And of course, what's going on now with our water surfaces, and it will take place for many years. When Russia ships entered the Ukrainian sea basin, it has become clear that it will take a long time for recovering. And a part of constant shelling, constant missile attacks of the coastal cities, and blockading ports, and pollution with oil, fossil fuels, it caused a lot of deaths, sea inhabitants. Just during the first half year of the war, scientists from Ukraine, Bulgaria, Romania, Turkish, they recorded extremely high level of deaths of dolphins. Dolphins, due to using radars, they just couldn't survive, and thousands of bodies, they were washed out on the coastal areas. Then we all know the problem, Kakhovka Bridge, when more than 600,000 square hectares, were flooded. And now this area has a huge problem with water supply, and what to do with agriculture in that areas, because of course the agriculture fully relied on water resources from Kakhovka Dam, but now do we need to restore, to invest money to restore that Kakhovka Dam, or we just need to find another solution to offer something that can substitute this water basin for our agriculture? And next problem, it's a problem with water from mining areas, because I was born in Sumy, but many my relatives, they were living in Donbas area, and I know what's going on now in these territories, because when you stop mining, there are a lot of craters are left usually, and these craters, they with time they are filling in with water, and this water is very, very dangerous. It's poisoned with radioactive elements, and if you don't pump out it will poison all territories around. So, and since 2014, of course, Russia Federation doesn't do it. They just let this water go out to cover agricultural areas, and not all farmers, they understand what's going on. And that is why it caused a lot of cases of cancer and other problems that occur on the territories. So for now, it's a deal of great importance to talk about that. Record movie, to publish article, to talk to government, because only together, when we unite our efforts, we can do something that really can change the situation. Thank you.
So thank you very much. And now we're supposed to have a panel discussion, and we will, but we're running out of time a little bit, so the panel discussion will be shorter than expected, and that will be led by Olena Melnyk. So you lead it. For the panel discussion, I would like to invite our panelists to our front seats. So maybe Liz and Richard, and yes, and Olesya. Yeah, and I think Alina will come. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for presentation. So actually, my first question, it has already been partly answered. We know that even before the war, in Ukraine, we had a lot of problems with water supply. First of all, we had a lot of water scarcity. So it's not, we don't have enough water, even in spite we have a very wide range of water, rivers, small rivers, mid-level rivers, but we don't have enough rivers. In the among European countries, we took 20, among 40 European countries, we took 22nd place for the water supply. And first of all, it's lack of water, and second problem was that always disturbed us is the quality of water. Because even now, if you follow the TV, so in Europe, Ukraine announced that we want to be a part of the European Union, and so we have to follow European rules. And now they want us to improve standards to drinking water. So, but what to do now? We don't have enough water. How we can talk about improving standards? But that is why all the water that we have in our houses will be like a technical one. We cannot drink it. And can you answer how the war impacted water accessibility for Ukrainians? Not only probably in affected areas in southern eastern Ukraine, but maybe you have experience in North Ukraine. I know that you went to Sumy. So what kind of problems people have with drinking water in that regions?
Well, I would say that it's twofold, right? So number one is there is no water. Very often water is on a schedule, and the schedule is not really stated. So it would tell you that, you know, Monday between, I don't know, 6 to 7, you're going to have water, but in fact, you actually don't. So that's one big problem. That's, of course, because of electricity, but also because of the pipelines that are constantly being disrupted. And the second, the water that is coming out of the tap is all poisonous. So you can't do anything with it. And that is also the exactly same with the wells.
Okay, Alina, would you like to continue?
So I can say that not only about the drinking water, but thank you. So before coming here, do you hear me? Yeah, it's good. Before coming here, I investigated this question a bit, and in my understanding, it's not about the drinking water itself, but it is like the consequence why we cannot have, let's say, process the water from the river is that if the weaponry and the residuals, and for example, from the different mines and etc., it gets into the river, and specific chemicals, they can produce their new algae bloom, the new growth, which can basically damage the ecosystem and make this water more even dangerous, where our existing purification systems do not work. So there is definitely direct consequences to the quality of water, which we get even through the direct cleaning systems.
Okay, and my next question. So probably, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Я би хотіла до цього додати, що я вважаю, що треба український уряд і безпосередньо Міністерство екології змушувати приводити в Європейський Союз за допомогою навчання в Європі безпосередньо спеціалістів, які займаються водними ресурсами. Я маю на увазі на місцях ті, що управляють не екологи, а ті якраз господарчі діяльності, які не бачать причинно-наслідкових зв'язків.
So the problem not only about the quality of water, but also about educating people who are locally managing water resources, not only scientists, not only ecologists, but people who are responsible for managing water resources, and showing them that there is actually a connection between their actions or other actions and result that we have nowadays.
Тому що коли я їздила в цю країну, я бачила нецілісне сприйняття цих зв'язків, що від чого починається. І це одна з самих великих проблем, що її не розглядають цілісно, від чого це все відбувається.
Yeah. So traveling across the Europe, Olesya noted that in Ukraine there is a lack of this understanding between the reason and the connection and the consequences of ecological problem.
Actually, I want to add that this problem is not only with water supply. We have so many problems, like with waste management. Not all authorities understand what they have to do, what they can do. And the same with natural resources, with biodiversity, and so on. But I want to say that such programs that exist. They already exist. And here we have director of one of programs, it's Rebuild Ukraine, Marianna from Bern University of Applied Science. I don't know if you have already heard about her, but she was one of initiator to launch program for Ukrainians here in Switzerland to teach them the best available technologies. So it's a program exactly for refugees from Ukraine. And now the program, it takes, maybe Marianna, would you like to say a couple of words? Would you like to join us? It was not planned, but I think it's a good example.
Yes, but I can.
Like this? Okay, so hello, my name is Marianna, and yes, as Olena introduced me, I'm a co-director of the program called Rebuild Ukraine. It's a continuing education program that basically aimed to train highly educated Ukrainians that are
here in Switzerland as refugees, and they want to learn new technologies, new tools on how to rebuild Ukraine. And it's a program which is focusing also on natural resources, on how we can recover our nature, but also on how we can reconstruct our cities and villages in a more sustainable and greener way to rebuild back better. So, and I'm really inspired by your talk. And basically, the aim of our program is not only to provide the trainings. We are visiting different businesses to learn best practices from them. We are also visiting different research institutions to learn from them. So currently in this program is around 28 partners in Switzerland. And what is special in this is that our students, participants are divided in groups, and they also develop real projects for Ukraine. And this year we start the third round of such a program. And 2 of the projects we aim to develop will be focused on water. So I'm really looking forward to have a connection with you, and perhaps we can develop something together. So,
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I know that we are short in time, so maybe we can go to next question. So how long-lasting might be the effect of military actions and deliberate water contamination by Russian water sources? What is your expectation? How long we will need to recover after this invasion?
Well, I think that's basically a question that no one really can answer. I mean, I can only, whenever someone asks me about how on earth is Ukraine to be rebuilt, how on earth shall we recover from this? I used to give the example, so I'm German, so I used to give the example from Germany after World War II. The country was completely destroyed. Everything was polluted. There was literally nothing standing anymore. And with the joint efforts from international help and also civilian organizations, Germany was basically rebuilt within 15 years, at least to an extent that the entire economy was able to function again. And I think, so seeing what we've seen in that video, in that movie of yours today, of course, I'm not an expert, but what I see is a lot of what is happening in Ukraine and the environment in Ukraine has its source back in the Soviet era. It's been part of the industrialization and about proving how strong the Soviet nation was. So that's where a lot of the industry comes from and a lot of the projects that actually led to the situation of today. So what I see is actually a chance to overcome this. Although it's a terrible cause and the action going on is terrible and devastating, but at the same time, all the destruction will give a chance to restart.
Я так додам трошки. Одна з великих проблем, яка є суперпроблема, це замінованість всіх територій, боліт, річок і всього, що є. І, звичайно, люди не зможуть. А з іншого боку, я думаю, можливо, в цьому є шанс для тих же річок, боліт і лісів, що люди туди не матимуть доступу, і, можливо, це допоможе відновитись. Так само, як було, коли почалось повномасштабне вторгнення, перестало працювати багато заводів і розлилися річки. Але, на жаль, Російська Федерація робить все, щоб у нас там навколо, як у вас там показаний, це річка Десна і як це? Same, да.
But I want to say people very often they are mistaken when they think that the war decrease of economy and it causes decline in economy and then it causes decline in pollution. No. In Ukraine, what happened in Ukraine, all iron, steel manufacturers, they just moved to another parts. They moved to western part, or they moved to Czechia, Poland, and even other countries. So that is why we didn't get this decrease in environmental pollution at all. And yeah, also if you are talking about water pollution, so I would say it is a bit easier with surface water, because in surface water it can be changed every 2-3 months. But for underground water, if it will be deliberately polluted, so it will get problem that we will have to deal for dozens of years. Thank you. Next question. Maybe it's better now. Maybe just my ears. They created that noise. Okay. Even fourth, we have already touched this one. Maybe next one. Okay, yeah. So maybe this question is mostly to Liz, because while international standards mandate that all parties in a conflict should maintain essential water infrastructure and supply to meet civilian needs, isn't this principle being upheld in the recent Russia occupation? So we are very often very close to front line, very often close to occupied territories. Do you know the situation in that areas? If Russia, they are doing something to supply people with drinking water, what's going on that territories?
Well, I, of course, can only speak from very limited interactions I have on a one-on-one basis. I'm not saying this as an expert. I'm saying this out of just personal experience and personal stories. No, no, there's absolutely nothing that is being done. But unfortunately, that is a problem that occurs on both sides of the front. So where on the Ukrainian side, of course, there's volunteers and the municipality is handing out bottled water to residents. Of course, yes, there's way, way, way more being done. But on both sides, there's not really a solution that is sustainable. I mean, it's just people relying on trucks, on water bottles being brought to them. And logistics, of course, in the Russian occupied territory is non-existent. They don't really have volunteers on that side that are helping them. Right? And Russia's interest is not in supplying people with a livable condition, whereas on the Ukrainian side, that differs. But I do want to mention that also on the Ukrainian deoccupied territories, unfortunately, I don't really see a lot being done for those people either. Of course, when we're talking about larger cities like, Drushkivka, Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, Izyum, yes. But when we start going into the smaller gramadas, a lot of the times I hear мы тут забыты. Мы никому не нужны, right? We're forgotten. Nobody needs us out here. They're out of the way. All the roads are bombed out. And that's, again, thank you, Russia, right? I mean, they've completely destroyed the logistics. So it's tough. Of course, it's a lot tougher on occupied territory, but the deoccupied territories are suffering, I would say, just as bad.
Yeah, I just want to add to this because what Liz said, of course, we don't have real insight in what is happening on the Russian occupied side of the fence. But what we have witnessed, of course, is deoccupied territories. So we were one of the only groups and one of the first groups entering these areas. We were pretty early in Izyum, pretty early in Liman, first day of the occupation. And there was literally nothing. No. Like nothing at all. So if that allows a conclusion about how the Russians were operating supply, then there was none. So that's the only source of information we actually have.
So what's going on in occupied or deoccupied areas is only temporary decision, like this bottled water supply, but nothing like permanently is even under consideration.
No, exactly. I mean, we have come across other reverse osmosis filtration systems. There's a company called Ecosoft that is currently also installing, but they're very, very complicated. They're very large and they require a lot of maintenance. So that's the only thing we've come across. And I would say like 7 times out of 10, when the local authorities show us the system, it's broken and they don't know how to fix it.
Я хочу додати трошечки не до кінця по темі. Я можу гучніше говорити. Професія така говорити дуже гучно. Про те, що ми можемо зробити висновок тільки один. Росія не слідкує за своїми громадянами і не дає своїм громадянам воду, не додає умов ніякого нормального життя. І те, що трапилось в Росії у нас це був підрив, а у них це погризли бобри, я вибачаюся. Як оця ГЕС називалася, пам'ятаєте? Була велика катастрофа, затопило в Росії, в общем, в Росії велику територію через недбальство. Мій висновок один. Росія окупувала свої території, Російська імперія, інших народностей. І вся Росія знаходиться насправді, вся територія, де знаходиться так звана Російська Федерація, це окуповані землі. Тому що їм на екологію нема діла і на воду на своїх землях. Що можемо говорити про Україну? Мені здається, що в цьому є велика проблема і, на жаль, європейська спільнота, і я не можу зрозуміти, чому ніхто не бачить корінь цієї великої проблеми.
And what to say if Kakhovka, sorry.
Yeah, so long story short, Russian Empire occupied not only Ukrainian lands, so some other countries, but also inside people inside Russia. And what we can say about occupied during current war, if Russia doesn't provide, in most cases, like normal resources for its own citizens, let's say.
No.
Sorry.
No, it's just, come on.
What to say when Russia decided to blow up our Kakhovka dam, they also prevented supply of water resource to Crimea Peninsula. So it was deliberately done. They think about the consequences and they understand that and it doesn't matter for them at all. Channel. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Next question. What strategic actions should be prioritized at the national level to prevent further decline in water supply, and what targeted improvements can be implemented at the regional level, particularly in frontline areas? So please, maybe it's okay. What do you think? What our government, local authorities, they can do, take into account that current situation and limit financial resources?
Well, I think one thing that they can definitely do to facilitate access to water in general, albeit it being technical, is to drill more wells. Because a lot of these gramadas, especially that we operate in, there is no infrastructure for water at all. And very often we will come to an area, like for example, in the Barvenkova Gramada, where we're currently implementing a few systems, we will come to a village with like 5,000 people and the only well they have is dry. And they don't know how to fix that issue, right? Of course, they try to approach the local administration and the authorities, but I mean, we're talking about villagers. You know, even in the area of Drushkivka, the wells are very limited, and we were pretty happy. This is really a shout out to administration of Drushkivka and Boyevsky, the mayor. He drilled 16 wells at our request so that we could place the filters there. So that's something that the government can definitely do. Albeit, we are not scientists, as Richard mentioned. So we do, and I think Ukraine also needs help from European specialists who can help to do this sustainably and ecologically, so that it's responsibly drilled and not just blindly making holes in the ground and hoping for the best, because that's just going to perpetuate the problem.
Yes, also, as we have now witnessed through your film, thank you, I think we're talking about something a lot bigger here. That means that there must be political changes in the first place. So we are talking about responsibility and individual responsibility. So, and if you're talking about strategies, as I understand, there is no centralized water supply and water control. It's the Vodokanal system, right? And that on a political level, this has to happen. There has to be someone to control it. There has to be someone to be in charge of it. And as I understand, that system does not exist.
Yeah, I just want to kind of build on that because honestly, these water canals are a bit of an elephant in the room, right? Because I'm sorry, but half of them are owned by companies in the Cayman Islands and Cyprus. Is that a joke? Like it's real. This is the truth. These water canals are owned by business people, by, you know, shell companies, and it's very obvious what their motivations are. And as we start implementing our project, and we were talking to the ministries, right, of infrastructure, of ecology, we asked them, well, is there any kind of oversight to what we're about to do? And they're like, no, just go for it. Literally. So we can just basically drill a well anywhere, okay? And we could even sell that water in theory. And this has to be a policy change, right? I mean, this needs to start happening on not only a regional level, but also on a national-wide level. Otherwise, this is never going to get solved. And it's essential because we all see Ukraine as being a part of the EU, hopefully one day, and in general, being a part of European standards. So these policy changes have to happen. And these water canals, the system's got to be re-looked at.
Це те, чого ми не хочемо. І тільки, да, нове покоління буде.
Yes, and thank you, and thank you, participants, for your contribution. Thank you, filmmaker. Wonderful movie, and really touched me a lot. And thank you to our audience for coming and supporting us today.
Okay, thanks. So thank you to Olena, and thanks to our panelists and everyone who joined us and who spent the whole evening with us. Thanks a lot. We hope to see you again. Everyone, yes, and thanks.